Hi there, my name is DaniaVidaEnglish. I am a licensed clinical social worker, therapist, and owner of Vida Counseling and Wellness. I definitely would like to kind of share a little bit about my modalities and style of how I work with clients, also the topics of where I support a lot of my clients at this moment in time. So I love to work with a relational psychodynamic lens, which basically means we will probably look at and kind of like observe and understand patterns of how you might present in relationship with each other. And the reason is a lot of our patterns of relationships or how we connect to other people are formed throughout our entire lifespan. So starting from when we're itty bitty babies with our parents or caregivers, we're already forming a bond and connection. So I find that work really fascinating, and also it kind of covers a lot of the other type of work that I like to do, and it kind of blends in with some other modalities that I like to work with, cognitive behavioral therapy for one, trauma-informed therapy, attachment work, parts work. I think it's a lovely blend with all of those other modalities, because it allows individuals to really kind of like understand, like, hey, I am not just, this batch of symptoms that I'm feeling. I'm not just experiencing anxiety. I'm not just experiencing effects of trauma. I'm not just experiencing, like low mood. It can also be tied to other aspects of life, like other parts of our story or other experiences that we might have had with those relationships in our lives. I also think relationships are extremely healing and powerful. And that's why I like to invite my clients into the room with me to access that vulnerability, or if it's hard to, at least, work on those skills that can help us ultimately transfer that into the outside relationships that are important to us. Our friendships, our romantic relationships, our familial relationships, our work relationships. We're at work a lot anyways. All aspects of life. So I welcome everybody to kind of like show up as their most authentic self and be able to kind of like connect to those parts. I like to treat therapy as a partnership, because I'm an expert in, certain mental health modalities and pieces of my work that I bring to the table, but also my clients' experience is equally as valuable and powerful, and together as partners, we kind of guide that work together. And I always like to give the analogy, therapy is like exploring a set of islands, right? So like one island might be one part of your life or one part of your story. Another island might be another part. And I feel like eventually it all kind of like ties together, because ultimately it is your story. But it's helpful sometimes to kind of like break it down and isolate it into different parts. I love to work with first generation Americans or immigrants, just because I myself am a first generation American. My parents are immigrants, and I love to, just connect and provide that support for the immigrant or kind of first generation experience, where we also I love to do a lot of like culture of origin work with these populations. And I also like to bring this into other parts of my work, because I like to tell everybody, it doesn't matter whether your family is a recent immigrant or they immigrated, 5, 6, 7 generations ago. We all have a culture that we come from. So sometimes it's very helpful for us to be able to have that background and context. I like to work with a lot of young parents and families, so I definitely have a lot of background and experience supporting the perinatal mental health community, just because, again, being a new mom and having a lot of those adjustments in your role and self, in how you take care of your little ones, or coming into expanding your family, miscarriage, infertility, all of those pieces are a big part of where a population sometimes like feels disconnected or doesn't have a lot of support. So I definitely love to join my clients in that experience and, you know, create a sense of support, talk about network, talk about how we kind of can come together and be able to provide all of those like supports as you're kind of like working through some of these pieces of shifting identity, shifting family identity, shifting relationship identity, all of these pieces. I also love to work with couples just because it is a space of lots of my individual work definitely has to like has tie-ins with couples work, but it's one of those pieces too where I think in a relationship, especially being in a longer term relationship or even in a shorter term relationship, there's a lot of aspects of togetherness that we can explore in our work together. So I always invite couples to work with me around communication issues, intimacy, connection issues, barriers where we might not be understanding or there's been a lot of rupture and repair. We're trying to understand what these cycles we get caught into are about. In that type of work, I like to bring some of the relational psychodynamic work. I've been trained in Gottman, so I like to bring in some of those techniques of that modality and as well as some attachment work, because sometimes it's really helpful for couples to understand what's my attachment style and how is that showing up in our dynamic together. That's kind of the breadth of work that I like to do. If you have any questions, just feel free to hit me up. I have a contact page down below, so send me a message. Good to see you. Thank you. Bye.